Rationing is back in the UK. Is the war still on? No, but the mad zero-emission vehicle mandate is having a similar effect, strangling car manufacturers and dealers out of business. Many dealers are in the ludicrous situation of having petrol and diesel cars sitting on lots with buyers waiting, but being unable to deliver them before the end of the year because they will exceed the punishing government limits for gas cars, which in 2024 is only 78% of all cars sold. On the other hand, they also have acres and acres of EVs sitting gathering dust because nobody wants them. This is the truly bonkers situation the UK finds itself in, thanks to governments who quite frankly couldn't run a sweet shop, thinking they can firstly tell auto manufacturers what cars to make, and secondly tell drivers what cars to buy. All of this is completely predictable for any sane person not driven by net zero ideology, but that's not the case in the UK, where every government decision must be approved by the green blob. All this really does is kick the can down the road, because next year the ZEV target shoots up to 28%. So all those cars that are being delayed into next year will just make achieving the 2025 target even harder in 12 months' time. Fortunately, as we'll see in this video, one car retailing giant is speaking up about the madness, but I fear that their pleas for a return to sanity in the automotive industry will fall on deaf ears. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. Be sure to follow me on the usual socials for more content, links in description, and please make sure you're subscribed and have enabled all notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to support this channel, why not buy me a coffee? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Auto Express has an exclusive interview with Robert Forrester, Chief Executive of Virtue Motors plc, one of the UK's leading auto retailing chains. It lays out the incredible clown world that the UK auto industry has become at the end of 2024. ZEV mandates to spoil Christmas for thousands of petrol and diesel car buyers. Got an ICE car on order? Don't bet on collecting it before the new year. Drivers are missing out on new cars that should arrive in time for Christmas because car companies can't afford the penalties for registering too many petrol-powered models under the government ZEV mandate. The startling revelation comes from Robert Forrester, the chief executive of one of the UK's leading car retailing chains, Virtue Motors plc. We have petrol cars in compounds which have been sold to customers, but the keys cannot be handed over because manufacturers, understandably, want to avoid fines at the end of this year, the frustrated boss reveals. Christmas is coming and there will be thousands of car customers of different dealerships around the UK who cannot take delivery of their cars because they are being held over until January and the new quota year. It's rationing by the back door. Forrester leads the fourth largest automotive retailer in the UK with a network of 202 sales outlets. He's an outspoken critic of the ZEV mandate and has lambasted the government in a column written exclusively for Auto Express, in which he says government policy risks destroying the UK car industry for good. But sacrificing the UK car industry on the altar of net zero is just unfortunate collateral damage. At least we're saving the planet, right? And as I said, the government aren't even listening. He's also frustrated by the fact that the government hasn't discussed the ZEV mandate with retailers and the effect it's having on dealers and consumers alike. My own firm leads the sector in the number of EVs it sells, but it is still nowhere near the government's arbitrary targets, he says. Ministers have only talked to manufacturers and have spurned all my requests for a meeting to explain the consequences for your neighbourhood car dealer. And like I said at the start, all this does is make achieving next year's target even harder. Forrester himself won't be drawn on the names of any brands who are holding up deliveries, but with a review of the ZEV mandate promised by the government in January, it's clear the pressures are building right across the automotive sector. As one insider told us, this is what you get with a 22% target and EV demand at its current level. In a couple of weeks, January 2025, the target jumps to 28%. Demand won't change suddenly, so what's going to happen then? Indeed so, manufacturers will have to ration petrol cars even more to artificially boost their percentage sale of EVs. Will this force people into buying EVs? Personally, I don't think so, as most people would rather buy a recent pre-owned petrol or diesel car than have to deal with the inconvenience, impracticality and expense of buying and owning an EV. Check out my recent video on 10 reasons why you should never buy an EV up here. Let me know in the comments what you think, but I believe it will drive car buyers into the used market instead and push up those prices as demand rises. New cars are awful anyway, full of driver aids that are actually irritating and unnecessary nannying, and which are there just to curtail freedom, awful touchscreens everywhere instead of proper knobs and switches, and horrible styling, but that's a subject for another video. I think it will be a very interesting time for the used car market, as demand will just continue to go up as buyers shun new vehicles in favour of lightly used pre-owned models, and, most importantly, with the powertrain the buyers want, not the one the government demands.